we go. Bear with me, Garden Fairy, number 7. Hello, I am Charlene of the Rainbow Frequency, and we are doing 2 screens, Instagram and YouTube. A little waxing poetic before I pick an object reading. Where did I put the damn objects? We have, and I'll show them again before I do the reading. We have the pin oak leaf, we have the crepe myrtle leaf, and the black walnut leaf. So those will be our upcoming objects. First, we're going to talk about Halloween, which has been my most favorite holiday since a child. But instead of it symbolizing a day where I took on the persona of someone else, it was really more of a day where I felt like my true colors, my inner magic could come out of hiding and really shine. You know, I got to play with all of my favorite, I'm going to move this, bear with me. Well, who cares? Who cares? You all get to see I'm all alive and, it doesn't matter, whatever. Forget it. Messy. We're messy. We're humans. We're not perfect. So why should I pretend like I am? I'm not messy. I'm magical. Right? Right. So, choose perhaps this Halloween, instead of presenting as something outside of yourself, dig deep into who you are and your true magic and show it. I worked as a hairstylist for 20 some odd years. And in a sense, it was a bit like wearing a mask. I mean, I was partially showing up as who and what I was. I mean, hairstylists are magical creatures unto themselves that not only cut your hair, but hold space for you emotionally. They listen to your problems. A lot of times in my career as a hairstylist, I was told that I was their therapist or like a bartender, and they would even laugh that it was so much less expensive than going to a therapist. But, it's true. I'm not saying that all hairstylists are necessarily empaths, but I would imagine a better part of them are. You go into such a trade, nursing, teaching, I mean, so many, I'm not limiting it in any shape or form, but a lot of these service providers that are out there are in their professions because they truly desire to help other people. And there are many beautiful ways that presents itself, but it was through doing hair that it slowly dawned on me what my magical abilities were. I noticed slowly over time, I would start to know if someone was going to cancel. I found that a lot of times I could have the consultation in the morning as I was getting ready, knowing I was going to see a certain person, and just tell them when they sat down in my chair, okay, so I kind of got in to where we were going today, and sort of had a conversation with you already about what you wanted. So this is what we came up with. And most times they were like, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. And I'm like, yay, we just saved some time. I also picked up sometimes in conversation that information would come in. And after a while, I started to realize that trying to wave at the Instagram followers and do it all. That's my biggest problem. I try to do it all. And I really should only do half of what I'm trying to do. But anyway, I would be talking to clients and information would come in and I would realize, like, I think I'm intelligent. I have a fairly healthy self-esteem. And there were times where I'm like, whoa, that was deep. That was amazingly wise. Like, that was a little outside of me. And it was an evolution that I went through. And it was a good starting point. It really was. And it's funny because as a baby, I grew up in a hair salon. My grandmother was a hairstylist. Part of my family history, I think my grandmother was more than a hairstylist, and that was the safest place it could show up, and she could help people. But when you don't fully acknowledge who you are, it can cause problems. My grandmother was an alcoholic. I think especially when she was growing up, you didn't want to exhibit some of these characteristics or abilities because you'd be ostracized, vilified. I mean, even the word witch, which this is my version of a fairy magical shape-shifting witch. It stagnates, it creates dis-ease within you, and this word witch, I'm all over the place, sorry. The word witch, to me, what is a witch? Someone who perhaps knows plant usage. A lot of times, there's many forms that a witch could present itself as well. Any and everything. There's so many variables and variations and ways. Never do I ever wish to limit anyone in any way. But there are, kitchen witches who nurture and support through their cooking. There are garden witches. There are earth witches. There are ice witches, fire witches, all sorts of witches, eclectic witches, which don't want to be limited. I like them. Who wants to box themselves in? Not this witch. So yeah, we previously have been in a society where we would compartmentalize ourselves, hold parts of ourselves back. And that's not working anymore. We're deciding to take our masks off that are limiting or restrictive. Hold on, I'm going to take this one off so that, if I may, maybe they don't want me to. All right, here we go. Take our masks off. And now I'm really blind. The cat eyes might have helped. But show up all the way as what we are, not wanting to hold ourselves back, not wanting to mask our true identities any longer, because we're moving forward into a time where our brains are expanding, our consciousness is expanding, how we show up is expanding, our abilities as they were previously are evolving and expanding and growing. A lot of people have been talking lately about how wild their dreams are. At night is when your body heals and repairs itself. Scientifically speaking, this is known. At night, when we dream, it is said that is when we receive information. Perhaps we astrally project. We get downloads or information. All sorts of things and ways to think about this stuff. And this has been a constant, ongoing process. And it's, if you look over the course of time, these pushes forward into a new era, a new age, are not without their conflict or strife. It is, what is that saying? Conflict is, no, necessity is the mother of invention. But, back it up prior to, you have the conflict, which creates the necessity, which is the mother of invention. It's cause and effect. We get to a wall where we're like, this limitation doesn't really work for me anymore, or restriction doesn't work for me anymore. So now I'm going to push and have my breakthrough to get further along my path to where I really am ultimately headed or destined to go. Lots of rambling. So, for me personally, that is why it kind of got to the point where it wasn't working for me to simply be a hairstylist. I wanted to do, I had gotten to the place where I realized I was doing Reiki. I just didn't know that I wasn't doing it with intention. So then I wanted to do it with intention. And then once I began down that path, it just evolved to where now it's really hard for me to have conversation where I can't fully express and be who I am. I used to minimize or hold things back so that people would be comfortable, because I just wanted to go around helping, making people happy. And that is one of the other tricky aspects of being an empath. And again, going back to having been a hairstylist and being in that world of tons of caretakers and how we sacrifice our own needs, we don't eat, we don't set proper boundaries necessarily, like our time is not valuable, or that we don't work on a tight schedule. Sure, you can come 20 minutes late, no big deal. And then I'm not, generally speaking, you try really hard to not put your stress on them. You're trained as a hairstylist to not talk about your own life because it's really all about the client. What kind of relationship is that? Like, sure, if you're in a hair salon where you're just pumping people out and you're just there as the feel good person, that's one function. Sure. But if you're a hairstylist or any kind of provider of service that builds relationship with people, because part of our issue here in today's world is that we really have overly isolated, compartmentalized ourselves to where we don't really have that sense of community anymore. And what is that? That's no good. I'm not saying that everyone has to always get along and that we all have to hold hands no matter what and be besties. But we need to evolve to where we can agree to disagree. And as long as no one's hurting one another, you be you, I be me. I don't know what you're judging. No, why is anyone judging? Just focus on you and make yourself happy. Let's evolve to that. So, without further ado and rambling, we're going to do our pick of piles. And again, bear with me. We're going half blind, just going from spirit. So first pile, and I'll show both screens, pin oak. Pin oak. Second pile, crepe myrtle, and these are all from my yard. Crepe myrtle. Third pile, black walnut. All right. Woo. Try to stay organized. All right. So for the first pile, we'll have the Crow Tarot as our tarot. And then we're going to have the archetypes, the wild unknown archetypes. We're going to have the moonology. So the tarot will change for each pile along with your object. And then we'll wrap it up with the Witch's Oracle. So the supporting oracle cards will stay. The tarot will change because I felt like each pile should get their own tarot. And then I could show up all my Halloween-y decks. Let me say hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right. So, how is it that you are leveling up in this growing season? Is what our prompt is. How are we leveling up? Pile 1. Bottom of the deck, 3 of Wands. First card, Knight of Swords. Second card, 5 of Pentacles. Third card, Wheel of Fortune. Let me stay organized so my brain doesn't start to hurt. I'm going to pull the rest of the cards right quick and then do the reading because I really like to have them all on the table and look at them all together as a painting or a story. And I will tell you, there's a part of me that would like everything to be well rehearsed and planned and perfectly said, but I'm not supposed to be perfect. That wouldn't really serve us that much, now would it? You know, in my mind, my ego wants everything just so. But magical and messy. Because, I mean, when you're not holding back, when you're not overthinking, that's when the best creativity, oh, you get 2 cards, comes through. You know, I do my best cooking when I'm not really thinking about it. I just let my hands and body move. I do my best healing work when I co-create in that state with the elements that want to support each person. That's why each healing is different. Each person, it presents itself differently. And that's the magic. All right. All right. Me. This is where the twitchy starts to show. More room, please. Okay. So let's start with your pin oak. I mean, 2 screens. I really like talking to one person at a time. But I can't always get what I want now, can I? Okay, so pin oak. Oak trees, from a tiny little acorn, the mighty oak grows. Its roots are as far expanding as its tree canopy, and so it's super grounded, but also has that high consciousness in the crown. The pin oak, let's take it literally, not literally, let's take it figuratively. That's the word I want. I'm really getting stuck on the pin, but not PIN, PEN. So start journaling more. Perhaps that's when your ancestors I'm not limiting, but a lot of people who either write, draw, paint, make music, that could be one form of their healing work. It could be how they channel the messages for them through. But, again, not necessarily just for themselves. But yeah, start putting that pen to paper or paintbrush or whatever, let yourself slip into that creative state and let it flow. Perhaps imagine yourself sitting beneath your oak tree and what wisdom wants to come through. Look up oak trees. That would be my first thing that I would say to you if we were with each other. Look into the symbolism of oak trees. There's so much, and really, I do believe that when you do your own research, it becomes this adventure of finding all sorts of information, or it really does, to me, help you learn your own discernment, because you'll read a bunch of stuff. Like, I love the internet because I can sift through tons of stuff, whereas previously I'd have to hunt down books, and I love books, but I can get so much more done. But you really have to sift through multiple sites and their information and see what repeats, what seems right to you. There might be bits here, bits there that you add and weave together for the full picture for yourself. But I would get into daily practices where you journal in some form. And some people have art journals. It doesn't have to be. Some people have all sorts of different ways that this can present itself, like a cooking journal. Anyway, it also has this feeling of a candle flame. And in candle magic, when the flame is all tall, it look up candle magic, but it's a sign that you're tapping in, you're working that magic. It's strong and elevated. So let yourself grow. Let yourself stretch. All right. Your archetype, we're going to start with this card. Give you the close-up, even though it's backwards, the tear. So in this card, we have sort of this snowflake with an eye, and then this is the tear. And you can see my little geriatric eyeballs. So the eye in this picture is blue, and the snowflake imagery to me is symbolizing how we are all unique. We have our similarities, sure, but like zebras, our fingertips, like zebras' stripes, are individual. I've said this many times over, but we are composite beings. We are a collection of elements brought together uniquely, contrived, derived, orchestrated, with our own unique purposes to set forth and do. We're the hero or heroine of our own journeys, our own quests, but yet there is a collective weaving of the tale, true. But the tear, if you want to think about it this way, you start off, you're young, you might have a sense of your own self, perhaps as a child, but then life, society, families, whatever, start to tell you, oh, you should be like this, or to fit in, we should do this. And we will shove away the parts of us that we perceive are not working. Then as we grow older, hopefully, we realize that was not exactly what we should do. Like, you don't want to shove parts of yourself away or down. And then, ideally, one, after having lived for a while, recognizes where their wounds are, where they've maybe picked up some baggage or poison that they don't really need to be carrying anymore, so they have to cleanse or purify the well, so to speak. And in that healing journey, there are tears. And sometimes that feels terrible, and we feel like we're not healing, but it's the letting go of the tears that help heal you. And you're mourning different aspects. When you let go of something, no matter what, even for the good, there's a period of mourning after that. But the tear is green and gold, which you're healing in the heart space, the solar plexus, which means, in this you're evolving and coming home to yourself, healing your heart, growing your sense of self-value. And it's a journey, it's a process, but you're doing it. So keep doing it. Like, for a while there in my healing journey, I was crying and just like, ugh, I hate this. Why am I doing this? Ugh. And then I finally read that every time you cry in healing, you're healing a major part of yourself. And it's a celebration, not something to be like, ugh. So, also, a little factoid that I love, when you cry out of sadness, they're salty. when you cry for other reasons, they're not salty. Tears have different composition and salinity. So I started tasting my tears. First, I only had a few moments where I cried for joy, like on my wedding day to my now husband, and I tasted them. Sure enough, not salty. They're almost sweet. It was really cool. And then since then, and in my healings where I've cried, I taste them and I'm like, not salty. So start tasting your tears. Really interesting. All right, let's move on. All right. We have believe in the impossible, blue moon, and surrender to the divine, full moon. So both are full moons. Full moons are good for helping us to release what no longer serves us, for helping us gain clarity where there has been dark before, reveal blessings, show us the magic, all sorts of stuff. So right now, people are feeling very downtrodden, to say the least. People are feeling very exhausted and like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to move forward? Yes, it's not going to be like Rome wasn't built in a day, a new earth, or however you want to quantify, whatever it's not done overnight, but we're not going back to where we've been. For some people, that's really disheartening, but to me, I didn't really love a lot of aspects of what was going on. Don't get me started on the school systems and all sorts of stuff. It's just like things could have certainly used some attention and leveling up in their arenas. So we're moving forward as we haven't in centuries, if ever, where we're going through very similar times as a globe to focus on moving it all forward instead of us kind of being compartmentalized and only really caring so much about what was happening in our own little world. We've expanded so much in consciousness. Like business now is global. Our consciousness is more global, which I feel is leading to a lot of us uniting to work together to build something that's for everyone. Not everyone, but a lot of us. A lot of us are. The people, I would imagine, watching me ramble, my stream of consciousness, we are. So, overarching theme for this reading, we have the Three of Wands. That is perfectly illustrating what I was just saying. Bridging the gap. Bringing in healing energy to unite. These spirals, in Reiki, a spiral, and many other spiritual practices, spirals are healing energy. Water is healing energy, and this is also depicting the water. Clouds, spirits, the star in tarot is healing, and also that North Star. So, bridging the gap, creating healing that leads towards following our true calling and direction. And that I always like to say with this sort of energy, out of the two begets the three. Which, when you connect with God, your higher consciousness, your calling, you connect with others to join forces, to build something positive for the world, however this works for you. It creates something new. The two energies together create a new thing, a new solution, if you're thinking alchemically, right? So then we have the Knight of Swords as where we are currently. And it was in reverse. I don't always read reverse. I feel it out to what feels right. And I'm trying to see it all. So in this, the message is where we are currently is we really need to be sitting inward with our attention not overly focused externally, because it depends on what and where and how you allow your attention to go. There's a lot of information to be had out there, but that's where your discernment is really important. And instead of, like, I previously in my life would really, when I was younger, like talk to lots and lots and lots of people to get all of their opinions so that I had as much information as I could to move forward on my path, having all their considerations, thoughts in my mind so that I could take it all in and then make a decision for myself. And yes, to a certain degree, I still do that. But as I've gotten older, I listen. I have that internal, is that what's best for me? I check in meditation. Like, I still have my fact checking and my process of researching or working through life, my decisions, but it's much more an internal process. And that's where, we all have been in this current period. But again, these things are timeless. But we've been kind of forced to go within and really think, not being hasty, but trying to think and not rush through. So the advice in this energy here is haste makes waste. You don't need to rush necessarily. What you need to do right now is it. And yes, there are going to be times where you have to make a quick decision. These things, I don't mean to tell you every single aspect of your life, go very, very, very slow. If you're in a car, you have to make a quick decision. Do it. But at the same time, like, with wherever you can, slow down. Go within. Really process. Is this real? Is this what I need for my highest good right now? How should I proceed? Wait for the information to come in. It will. What's the saying? If the answer doesn't come within like a short period of time, meditate a little bit longer. Like, in big decisions, I have found in my own life, when you rush and you don't go with what feels right, it bites you in the butt. So we have this, to me, without my glasses, it looks like a bluebird. It could be a robin, but it's that following your joy. It's the crow could be symbolic of your ancestors. The horse could be spirit, and the bluebird joy. So you really, to make the best mental decisions, because swords are a mental plane, it takes bringing these things into balance. And that could also be quantified as your mind, body, and spirit being on board. It's, again, we as humans have overly compartmentalized and will forsake one for the other. We think that the mental plane is the end all be all, but I will say this over and over again. Your heart doesn't lie, your gut doesn't lie. Sometimes your mind can play tricks on you because the ego can be on overdrive with the fear factors, trying to keep you safe. And sometimes that's needed, and then sometimes it's not. So that's where discernment really comes into play. So that's where really get mind, body, and spirit on board with your decision making. Because then we have the obstacle is the Five of Pentacles, which is going from that feeling of lack. We're moving, we're healing, and working towards something new. So, first step, mind, body, and spirit together, on board with your decisions, letting go of this feeling of lack. Because, the classic articulation of this card is that, like, if the classic depiction of the beggars outside of the church, and they wouldn't go without if they just turned to spirit. There's that aspect. But there's also the aspect of, if you focus on what you're lacking and not what's actually there, sometimes you miss the blessing that's right before you, right? So don't get caught up in the lack mentality, because we have the Wheel of Fortune, and we're working on changing our direction as a humanity, as a collective. We're working on that. We're working on perhaps individually changing our own luck, changing our own circumstances. And this card was also reverse, but that tells me that a lot of this is coming from reprogramming yourself a bit. Putting down the false narratives, giving up our behaviors that aren't serving us, our mindsets that aren't serving us. We're really needing to focus on ourselves, to heal ourselves, and then ripple effect, it goes outwards and heals the world. There's that saying that a healed person heals other people, which there's one thought process that when you heal yourself, you heal your ancestors and the traumas that they've been holding on to. I really do feel very strongly that we are here right now, us as individuals. Part of our job is to heal our timelines. Enough is enough. I mean, with my communications with the other side, there's a lot that we're still in conflict over, that they're like, ugh, can we just give that up already, please. Like, we didn't want it to keep going in the first place, but yet here you are dredging it. End it. We want peace. They want peace. Who among you that can talk to your ancestors that they don't want some peace? They want peace. Like, and not just for themselves. They want it for you. They want it for future generations, right? So let's lay that shit to rest. Because we have the braid, which goes perfectly with what I was just saying. Healing timelines, cutting some karmic cords, perhaps. A braid is one way, like when you wear your hair in braids, it's one way to be more connected to spirit, is a thought. So perhaps if you have hair for it, braid your hair more. But really think about where your energy goes. If you want it, how you want it to be utilized. I don't really love right now this sort of mentality of like people who only love you when you act the way that they want you to. That's not really love. However, I want it to be clear. I'm not advocating willy-nilly cutting people off just because they don't agree with you. No, it should not be, but so easy to cut a loved one out of your life, I think, right? But at the same time, there are times if someone won't let you be you, that perhaps you go somewhere where you're supported. Maybe in time they'll come back around to thinking differently, right? But sometimes you have to do that hard thing and choose yourself and cut that cord. But there's a lot of tarot and whatnot out there, and some of it I absolutely adore, and then some mentalities I'm just like, whoa, let's dial that back a little. Like, let's not just lose our ability to disagree with each other and still love one another. I'm just saying. And that's where it really comes in. Mind, body, and spirit. I mean, if you have a family, you're raising children, right? We can't just get mad and bye. We can't do that to one another. But at the same time, as a society, we are moving away from that survival method of us feeling so scared that we all have to look just alike in order to not be ousted. But that is a more primitive thought process, right? So let's evolve to where, instead of it being a scenario like in, I forget which X-Men movie, where humans realized that there were mutants living amongst them and they lost their shit, and there was this big huge war of we're the ones that are normal, you're the ones that are terrible, away. No, I don't care who you are, what anyone that thinks that other people need to be sent to an island and shunned. I don't like that. And I think we are evolving to realizing that there are many different variations, gifts, abilities that are to be celebrated, and supported. And there are many ways that this could be said. We could talk about star races. We could talk about psychic abilities. Again, I don't like to limit. So there's just, I think, if previously we were only using a fraction of our brains, we are now evolving and expanding in consciousness where those hemispheres are starting to light up. Some of us previously had been a bit lit up, but we're going to be like light brights. Woo! And it's change is not always easy or comfortable. And you have to really take your time and let each download, each time you get that leveling up to an ability or what have you, sit with it. Take your time. Rome wasn't built in a day, but believe in the impossible and surrender to the divine. So believe in miracles, have faith in yourself, have faith that we've always evolved and grown, and we will continue to. So that is pile one's reading. I hope you enjoyed it. Best wishes and all the love. I should always start with this, but I never think of it because I just want to dive right in. But I very much appreciate your likes, your shares, your support. I love the community that we're building. I love getting to make new friends and talk to people and learn. Every time I meet with somebody, I've always felt like my brain is kind of like this giant card catalog. So when I meet with people, and even in these collectives, but there's so many brains that's why I get a little glitchy, yeah. But I get to learn when I get to connect with you. So that's why I'm so interested in connecting, building community, and growing, because I do feel like that Three of Wands where I've made friends now all over the world, and we're expanding our traditions and learning each other's folklore, and I just love it. I love it so much. All right, so I'm going to wave at the Instagram people, waving at the YouTube people. Now let's do pile two. Pile two. The crepe myrtle. And I always think these things can kind of build on each other, these piles, these readings, so you don't have to pick just one. But crepe myrtle. This has green, red, and gold. So heart, space, the root chakra, and the solar plexus. Look up crepe myrtles. They have beautiful symbolism. I mean, there's so much beautiful symbolism out there. But there's a lot of heart in a crepe myrtle. I mean, they're not all pink and green. Mine is pink and green. Some of them are a little bit more purpley. But anywho, maybe there's some white ones too. I don't remember all my crepe myrtles. But they're beautiful, heart-filled trees And when I'm getting this message from the Crepe Myrtle for you in this reading, how are you leveling up? Again, is the prompt. You're okay. All the chakras are connected. But when you're meditating and you find yourself in a cave, that is one way to really ground and come home to yourself in that root chakra sort of way, security, ancestors, But the cave is also the portal to the heart space. When I first started meditating, I kept going into the forest, going amongst the trees, which can be perceived as the Akashic records. Then I would find myself going to a cave. I was like, I'm a little creepy. All right. I love caves. And, one time when I was sent, I just mentioned this in another reading or another live I did. When I was 15, my parents sent me away to this sort of outward bound 3-week camping adventure because they needed a little space for me. And I took to it like a duck to water. I love being in the woods. I hadn't really camped much, and there were other experiences that I had at that camp where I really learned myself. I learned, I went caving for the first time, and I loved it. I got as dirty as possible. I was slithering through. I'm like, yes, love it. I would not rock climb. They kept trying to convince me, like, you'll feel so good about yourself. I was like, oh, hell no, I won't. I don't want to do this. I'm not doing it. Down I go. You've been through this process of learning what you feel really strong in, what you might not wish to do, and you're integrating, trying to show you the integration of these colors. You're changing, you're evolving, you're growing, you're integrating. So if there's something in you where you're like, nope, hard stop, not for me, and it's not just simply you're uncomfortable and you don't want to push yourself to grow, right? Like you're like, nope, not mine. Never gonna be. Honor that. There are times to push yourself to grow, to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And then there are times where you're like, you know what? This isn't who I am, and I don't have to. Within reason, right? So that's also the beauty of growing older, I think. Most of the people I know, as you grow up, you hopefully get to a point where you just get to where you're like, this is who I am. I'm not going out of my way to make anyone uncomfortable, but like it or not, a lot of people I know in their 40s, that's where they start to get to be. They're like, this is who I am. I'm not overly trying to people please anymore. This is me. Let's work together, hopefully in a positive manner, maybe. That's also part of it, I would like to think. So, in a sense, come home to yourself. Like for me, I was just like, I'm raising this freak flag as high as it'll go because this is my flag and we're doing it. And I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but this is who I am. I hope you like it, but let's fly the flags. Let's celebrate who we are. Woo. And I want you to do it too. That's where I'm like, I want it. In my mind, I see this beautiful future where we're celebrating how far we've come and we're having a big old party and we're all our own magical, beautiful selves, and we're all high-fiving each other, right? So, first step, high-five your damn self. You've integrated, you've grown, you've learned who you are, who you're not. Let's move and not, like I said in the first pile, whenever you let something go, whether it's for the good or not, like you're in a breakup and you have decided that you want to end it with a person, a lot of times afterwards, you, the person who broke up with the person, is sad too. And you're like, I'm the one that did it. Why am I so sad? You still have to mourn it. Like you decide to leave a job and then you're leaving and all of a sudden you're kind of sad. You have to mourn the ending. If you don't, there might be some later date processing that one has to do, because if you shove it down or away or don't acknowledge, it will come back at some point. That's an unfortunate aspect of being a human. Like, we're onions. They're layers. And if you just shove it down, that layer will start to rot and fester. And then you have to unearth it. Is that everything? No, I have one more. I don't know that I'll ever do a live reading without glasses again. You might have learned that lesson, but all right. A new start is coming. New moon. And then I'll get your Witch's Oracle. And then I'll read you the cards, because I didn't even tell you. Wow, so mysterious. I will, again, articulate. I really prefer one-on-one. I don't even like groups of more than... I used to be 5 people, but now it's probably like 3. I am very much Emily Dickinson. I'd like to be left in my woods. A lot of times alone. Little Greta Garbo. I want to be alone. But the other side of me is very sociable and wants to connect. So I rather do it one-on-one, but these lives I do with the collective because I know it's part of how I'm supposed to show up. So I have to push myself out of my comfort zone of preferring one-on-ones, because that way I can really focus on you and not have too much peanut gallery going on. But so here we are. So pile 2. Where do we want to begin? Lovers, and a new start is coming. See, I don't even read the 2 piles the same. Lovers, expanding of the heart space, connecting with that higher consciousness, the swan to me depicts, and a new start is coming. Again, what we talked about with the crepe myrtle leaf, you're integrating, you are recognizing who and what you are, you've had to make some choices. You're still always, every day is a new day, a new chance for growth. And I do really get the sense that we're in a time period of, in general, us all kind of needing to slow down to a degree of sorts. Again, some things are not always going to get to move slow, but when we can really slow, reflect, decide, it's going to be a better equilibrium. So a new start is coming. I said this in the first reading. We've been evolving. We're growing. We're not going back to where we've been. There's this sense for a lot of us that we're kind of in this uncharted, unknown territory. We're stepping into that void. And a lot of people get scared of the void. But the void, to me, is where creation can happen. It's the womb space. It's where the magic can really take shape. And a lot of us haven't liked all aspects of where we've been. So this new start is coming. Should really excite you. And like, look at all this. Like, this is depicting the sliver is going to build. You know, it's a crescent. It's waxing. It's going to build momentum. And then we have all this pink, purple, white, and blue. So the cosmos supporting around this growth is expansive, and it's loving and intuitive and blue for the throat chakra. The throat chakra is the first of the etheric chakras, which, from here down is your physical body and how you connect to the earth plane. From here up is your higher consciousness. Throat, past lives, your voice, you get it. Your voice, past lives, your story. So how you want to present yourself. One of the things, becoming a Reiki master teacher, at the end of it, I was told that I was now an authority of myself. And I really would love to impart that feeling to everyone. We're all, or at least we all should feel like we are the authority of ourselves. You're a sovereign being, which means you are worthy. You are divinely made. That's where it gets really annoying, where other people want to tell other people what to do, and it's like, we're all divinely made. So if we all just focused on being our own best possible selves, again, not hurting anyone else around us, that would do a lot of good. And I will very much maintain, while not everyone out there is doing this, there are an awful lot of people who are. You can look at different things like the Schumann resonance. Anyway, there are different things that we can all see around us that are the signs that we're growing and expanding, should we choose to recognize it. Again, like, perception can be skewed, it can be false. So it's just that taking that time to settle it down, and try to come from the heart space. I mean, the lover, it's the heart space. And it's that you're not defensive. You have your wings behind you because you're divinely led and powerful. And you're feeling very much upright in your sovereignty, your beauty, and your power as you were made. That's what I'd like to see for everyone, right? So where we are, overarching theme is the sun. Coming into abundance. I mean, come on. But when I'm this far, I feel like you guys can't see me. But maybe that's just because I can't see me. But anyway, sun and this Lover's card, if they don't go so beautifully together. And the sun is healing energy. It's coming to abundance. It's purification, cleansing. The end of a cycle, the moon comes up, goes down, the sun comes up, goes down. So it does go very well with a new start is coming. End of a cycle, end of a chapter, new dawn. It's always darkest before dawn, or we always think things are so, and then it kind of falls into place, and then we're like, oh, I wish I hadn't stressed so much, or not had faith, or, all sorts of things we tell ourselves after the fact, right? Because where you are currently, the Queen of Pumpkins, which is the Queen of Pentacles, gender aside, tarot is all about progression. So the king would be the end all be all of getting there. The queen is almost there. And it's that energy of really being in your power, nurturing your material world, your relationships, your career, nurturing it all while really being in your sovereignty. Let's see what's in here. We have ferns. So ferns spread by spores. So this, to me, is a bit saying, okay, that what I just said in the previous reading. A healed person heals others. It's that ripple out effect. So when you're really in your strength of who you are, being your sovereign, badass self, nurturing your environment and yourself equally. Like a lot of us nurture everything else around us to our own deficit. The Queen of Pentacles knows they have to fill their own cup so that they can best take care of their environment. So then the obstacle is the High Priestess, which is that energy of coming into your knowing, coming in to, like, sometimes the High Priestess, and it's depicted in this, there's a black tower and a white tower, and she's standing on the moon. So this is talking, and the cat is handing her a star, it looks like. Or maybe the star is just there and the cat's looking down. But anyway, stars all around her are depicting healing, her being in her authentic self. Red is grounded, so she's grounded in her healing, authentic self, and she's standing between the black, or he or she, they, standing between the two pillars. The two pillars can be night and day. It can be action and intuition, masculine and feminine, but she's standing in that balance between those energies, really gaining that inner knowing. And that is a challenge. Like if you're integrating and coming home fully to who you are, it's a challenge. It's a good challenge, but you're growing, you're harnessing your prowess. And if you want to be the best possible version of yourself, rising to your full potential, and you have some hefty skills to harness, that's a bit of a challenge. It could feel daunting at times, but keep going. A lot of times, whether you're healing or growing, you're afraid of slipping backwards, that you haven't really healed, or you're not really progressing as fast as you should. But that's just your ego weighing you down a little bit. Like healthy amount of that to keep you moving or whatever. But at the same time, like, keep going. Just each day, if you take a step, at the end of the year, you'll take 365 steps. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Keep it more even keeled. Because you have the Four of Bats is the outcome. Four of Swords. This is that balanced state of mind that isn't in a hurry. They're really kind of dreaming in and contemplation or meditation, or like listening to what their dreams tell them. I said in the beginning, a lot of us are talking about how wild our dreams are. Well, it's giving us information. In this card, you can see on this, there's a moon outside the window, the stars, and there's a cat on them. So it's really at night when we sleep or when we're meditating, information comes in, we can process it, and it helps guide us forward. Then we have the rabbit. Rabbit is fertility. It can be representative of the goddess. And it's, like if we're talking about Alice, she really followed the rabbit, which in one way of looking at it could be perceived as her intuition, and she followed it down the rabbit hole and felt her way forward to getting herself to where she needed to go. Not this last summer solstice, but 2 summer solstices ago, I was sitting outside meditating, and I saw 2 rabbits playing. Then they separated, and one rabbit came up straight to me about, you can't gauge how far. Anyway, it was really close to me. We'll say like less than 50 feet away. And it just was staring at me intently, and it had a beard, and I was like, holy mackerel, oh my God. And I'd never seen a bearded rabbit before. And I looked it up later, and mother hares sometimes have this beard, and it's something that their babies can hold on to at times if needed, and it was just amazing. And when you open your eyes to the signs, the synchronicities, the magic that's around you, when you open your eyes to the unknown and let yourself expand, rabbits are used in magic because, they do have that magical air about them, right? So, in a sense, coming back to the crepe myrtle leaf, you've been on your own little big Alice in Wonderland adventure, going down the rabbit hole into yourself, integrating, weaving together the pieces that you had let go or forsaken. And like the Temperance card, the witch in the kitchen, you're weaving all this back together to come into that wholeness for yourself, that fertility of new growth. A new start is coming. New growth. is happening. Energy is all about cycles. All of it. Life is about cycles. So you've ended one cycle and are moving forward. I hope you guys enjoyed that reading. Let's move to the last of them. And then perhaps we'll either end it, or if anyone wants to say anything, you may, instead of me just All right. Organized. Yeah. One would think after being so nutty in these lives that I would just stop doing them, but no, keep going. Be uncomfortable when it's the right arena. Performers, when they start, musicians, dancers, actors, anybody, any public speaker will most likely tell you they didn't think they were good at it when they began, right? Moving to the black walnut. Oh, I love a black walnut tree. They're symbolic of magic, amongst many things, but when I think about it, I've owned 2 homes, both of which had a black walnut tree nearby. And it just, like, when that dawned on me one day, I was just like, I'm in the right place. Like, the more I learn about the symbolism of the natural world, the more at home I feel and comfortable in my environment. I will be the first to tell you, like, human beings are not always my favorite. I'm far more comfortable with trees, rocks, now the other world, the non-corporal, than I am with a lot of human beings. I will also say, for me, this is my journey, and I can only use my own life really to teach from. A lot of the things I was most afraid of are the very things, let's move you closer, YouTube. The very things, hello, duh. We're all works in progress, right? How do I make this go on? There we go. Let's have more light. Live and crazy. All right, there we go. A little bit better for YouTube. I'll get better at this one day, right? A lot of the things that previously terrified me weren't really things I needed to be afraid of. Now, we all have fears that are just and real and should be heeded. I'm not saying that we don't. But, for example, I was terrified of ghosts. Absolutely terrified. But why was I terrified of ghosts? Because of man-made movies. None of my experiences, knock on wood, thank you very much for this being so far true, have not been negative. If anything, all of my interactions have been love-filled and helping people come to peace, both live and dead. Or I don't really like to think of them anymore as being dead. They're just non-corporal. They're not on the same energetic plane as we are. again, we sometimes we're so egotistical as humans just because they're not like us. Whatever. What else was I like? Like the things. Let's say E.T. E.T. scared the ever-loving shit out of me, and for the longest time, I really didn't want anything to do with aliens. And then I realized, like, what was it that really bothered me about E.T.? It wasn't really the aliens. It was what humans did to poor E.T. Like, made him sick, like, poked and prodded and studied him to death. That's what I don't like. So, but when we're kids, we're not but so rational, or even sometimes as adults. Like, we don't always take time to rationalize and process what we fear. We just hold on to it sometimes, and it's holding us back. Luckily for me, I started learning Reiki. And then that was simultaneously in conjunction with my father transitioning to the other side. It was then I started receiving messages prior to him passing for people that came to me as clients, and I started getting comfortable relaying messages for them. I was scared to death. I mean, I was afraid I would upset them. I was afraid they wouldn't believe me. So many fears I had. But every single time I had a message, the person was elated. They were so happy and thankful that I gave them the message. And I realized I only have messages for the people that want them. Okay. All right. Fair enough. And there wasn't like, I remember, and I've said this before on one of these live things that I've done, but like in the beginning, like I started just acquiescing to the fact that I just cannot sleep past 3 to 5 in the morning. So I just started getting up, and my getting to know my abilities and evolving as who I am. I started just getting up in that 3 to 5 hour time frame and just meditating and just going with it. But in the beginning, I would really like creep out to the living room and into this room and kind of like turning on the light switches, like, oh God, are they going to be here waiting for me in the dark? Ah! Like Sixth Sense, like they're going to, like, I see dead people and they're scary. And they're like, oh my God, we want to build a relationship with you. We're not trying to scare the ever-loving shit out of you, make you faint and pee yourself. Like, that would be messy, and it wouldn't really get us moving forward. So breathe, relax. I listened. I finally, like, all right, okay. I've worked with my house now, realized, sure, there's been some energies here and there. We got rid of some of them, let them move away. I've said this before. All of a sudden, the spot where someone had passed, there was a new spot next to it in the shape of a heart. Awesome. Still have yet to have seen any visual of the entities. Perhaps one day I will see them, but at the same time, it's there, and it's now comforting. It's not scary. Like aliens, when you really, who's to say they haven't been here already? I mean, we don't know exactly how things like the pyramids and whatnot were made. So I just don't worry too much, because where am I going with this rambling? But I've always looked up at the stars and felt such comfort. When I meditate and I go into the cosmos, I feel nothing but love, support, and very much that I'm here to help the world as well as the multiverse. Because it's not just the one. To me, we now know that it's not just our one galaxy, there's more. So instead of it being something that I was fearful of, it now just feels, when I look at the moon, when I look at the stars, and I've always felt this, and lots of people feel this way. You're looking up at your ancestors. You're looking up Mother Moon. It's, what's that little song? God made the moon, or how does it go? God loves the moon, God loves me, God made the moon, and God made me. Spirit, cosmos, however you want to articulate it. It just, where I'm rambling with all of this is sometimes the unknowns, the things that we retract from, are really things for us to consider being a little curious about, to seeing if there's something in a healthy, positive way, of course, there for us. Because in my evolution of studying Reiki and getting comfortable with the other side, my dad is now very much a part of my life regularly. Like if I don't really feel like he's ever not around, but at the same time, if I really feel like, I need my dad, I can feel it. So in that way, let yourself drop the veil that's been over your own magic. In those ways, let yourself feel through the darkness to seeing where the love is. Whew, that was a lot of words. All right. Again, discernment, healthfully. I'm not advising you to snuggle rattlesnakes or do anything that doesn't feel right. Sometimes, you'll feel nervous, but it feels right. But heart space. First step, get into the heart space. Second step, learn the language that your intuition speaks to you. All right, let's pull the cards and then we'll move forward. Also, baby steps. Rome wasn't built in a day. Haste makes waste. You don't, a lot of us put unnecessarily timetables or feeling of pressure is where I'm going with that one. Oh, yeah, where? There it is. I also would say, for all of you out there watching this, our minds are, in fact, expanding. Our intuition is growing. If you don't know them already, perhaps look into the different ways psychic abilities can present themselves. The reading of objects, psychometry, clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance, clairsentience, what it means to be an empath. There are different types of empaths. We all have the ability to do self-healing on ourselves, right? Like we do. So maybe, if at all interested, look into the different ways that one can do energy work. Just saying, we're evolving, we're growing. These are things that are going to start being more acknowledged and prevalent. All right. Let's start with this one. You and your loved ones are safe. New moon in Cancer. The Cancer aspect, crabs hide in holes. They have all this defense around them because they're protecting their heart space. They move side to side, trying to get to where they're going. I think, let me take that statement out. I'm working on not saying that anymore. I feel we are evolving also in our heart spaces, where previously some of us had been hurt and adopted lots of forms of defense. But we've been really working on healing through those traumas and pains, recognizing how some of those defenses may have been holding us back. Like when you have a bunch of armor on or shields up, it protects you, but it also doesn't let anything good come in. So we're realizing to drop some of our defenses and let ourselves feel more safe and comfortable, showing our inner selves. A lot of times, like previously, we wouldn't allow ourselves to be vulnerable for fear of what might happen. But I'm seeing this in many arenas where people are letting themselves be vulnerable because they know by sharing their story and their vulnerability, it helps them make progress, but also it helps other people. That is another way I see us uniting, and I love it. All right, so we have 8 of Cups, and these are all reverse, so I think I just had the whole entire deck in reverse, but we'll talk about it on either side. 8 of Cups. All right. 8 of Cups speaks of walking away from what wasn't filling your cup and going for what does. When you see this cat following their yellow brick road to get themselves up their own personal mountain. Mountain can symbolize you're going towards your success, being in your power, and in this mountain, the top is white, so it kind of has that connotation of higher consciousness. So you're in your power, and connected to the crown chakra and the higher consciousness. So where in the past you might have trekked and gotten up other mountains, and then it wasn't exactly where you needed to go, so then you come down and you go to another mountain. And then ultimately, you want to get to this mountain, which would be your full potential and highest possible version of yourself, the highest consciousness that you can reach. And again, this is why I said a bit ago that you can watch all of these readings because they do sometimes fit so well together. Again, you have to realize that when you walk away from something, when you close one cycle down, when you leave something behind and move forward, take a moment. Mourn what you're walking away from, the fact that it's an ending. Acknowledge, maybe pay a little tribute if you like. We as humans love a ritual because in one sense they help us process. So, yes, you're excited to be going up this yellow brick road and going forward on your progress and moving to where you ultimately need to go. But that's where, when in energy work, like when I'm gonna dissolve a cord, I will, or like if I want to either dissolve a cord or say let go of my past. Same sort of concept where, like, if I'm thinking I want to walk away from elements of my past, so I will thank them for the lessons that I learned, let them go, be transmuted into healing harmonious energy or what have you, and then I walk forward, cutting or dissolving a cord. Because cutting a cord has the connotation that you cut it and you leave parts in either party. Dissolving it. Thank you for this connection. I no longer wish to have it. Let's dissolve it and release both parties and in a way that's in their highest good and delights their mind, body, and spirit. And then you bring love in, in that mindset, it's not so much like, I don't want this anymore, bye. It's a more loving way to go about it. And I mean, sometimes you have the anger or the like, feel it. It's very important to feel our feelings, but then to work through our feelings and try to get to the place, again, where in my own life, I've had a myriad of painful experiences. I could be really upset, but I realize if one wants to be a shaman or a healer or a witch, a medicine woman, whatever you want to call me, I had to be grown. I had to have those experiences. And as a younger person, I've said this before, I very much, I wanted to be a writer and I felt like I had to suffer. And I laughed for a while because I'm like, that's just nuts. Like, who wants to suffer? And it's just like, well, somebody who really wants to empathize with a large audience of people who've been through it. So I collected all the various ways that I had to get wounded. So then I could work through healing all those wounds. I mean, I'm not hiding it. Wounded warrior over here. Faced many, many deaths of self to get to the enlightenment. I don't know. Did you guys see that? Wounded, deaths of self, enlightenment. And then I once heard the statement, like, be careful of the wounded healer or wounded warrior, or, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, it could be that they're not acknowledging that they're still wounded, but if you've been through trauma, you want the person who experienced something similar, I would imagine, faced it, learned from it, to hold your hand. So this Eight of Cups could have some sadness or harder aspects to it, right? But it also is what shaped you, grew you stronger, and is ultimately giving you the skill sets needed for where you're headed. Go. Keep going. The Tower. A lot of people don't like the Tower card, but if you've been somewhere that hasn't been good for you, the Tower, hallelujah, change. You want, like, if you're stuck and stagnating and not happy, you want change. It might be scary because you're in that, like, mode, but at the same time, like, I think a lot of us, if you're all ready and keen to get trekking up on your new path and the new cycle and really get yourself going where you know in your heart and soul there's somewhere better for you, the Tower is the, finally, let's move. And I always like this analogy that I had of the Tower. I'm like, why settle for a turret when you deserve the whole castle, right? So this is you going for the whole castle. Not settling for just a tower. You want the cat palace. I just saw a picture yesterday of this amazing, like, tree cat palace that somebody had around the couch, and it took over the entire living room. Go get yourself your cat palace. Because, okay, you got 2 8s here now. You have the challenge is the 8 of Pentacles, which speaks of really working towards working on putting out what's in your heart to create and produce. It has that sense of it's divinely led. It's that energy of you putting in to creating what you're meant to create, that in turn creates these little flowers. It creates that fertility, that thriving, and that flourishing. But it takes work. So that's the challenge. It's you're leaving and going off to that which is better suited for where you're truly meant to go. And it's going to take some dedication and work and really honing the craft, honing the skills. In order to be considered what's the word? What is this analogy thing or information I'm trying to reach? In order to be deemed, what's the word I want? pro or just being highly skilled, we'll just say that. In order to get yourself to being considered a highly skilled artisan, craftsman, whatever it is that you're working towards creating, that's in your heart and soul, that is what you want to put out there, that will eventually, because if again, tarot's progression, 8 of Pentacles, building up. 10 of Pentacles is considered like the legacy that you want to leave behind. So this is you working towards building towards that legacy, that stamp, that how you show up in the world. And it's going to take you being willing to learn, to make mistakes, to grow from the experience and perfect it. You know, like most people who are really good at creating something, or however you want to quantify this, but whoever it is that's really good at what they're doing, it generally takes some time practicing, working out the kinks, you know? And I didn't even look ahead, really. I mean, I kind of see it, but I don't see it. 9 of Pentacles. Ha! You're building. The 9 of Pentacles is that energy of reaping what you sowed and really coming into that abundance. You know, because if the 10, like I was just saying, is the culmination of being that legacy that you want to leave behind, the 9 is almost there. And then once you've amassed that, because sometimes it's a tree holding the pentacles, once you've amassed that, then that's when you go even further up into the page, the knight, the queen, and the king, right? So this is all progress. And Pentacles, again, I keep saying over and over in this live that we're doing, haste makes waste. Pentacles is about slow and steady progress, right? So it's really the energy. And again, we're all different ages, but energetically, I feel like previously, how is this going to come out? Previously, I was caught up in living, doing, and going. And I almost had to run amok, have lots of experiences, highs and lows, so that now, where we're here now, I have something contextually to have behind me, to have grown from. And then we had this last bit of time where we really kind of, if we did it, sat with ourselves, processed, do I like where I've been? Where do I want to go? What do I want to work with? What don't I want to work with? How do I want to go about that? And then ideally, a lot of us are kind of in that, and I hear it in different channels that I follow, we're kind of all in that, like, I don't want to rush around like a mad chicken with my head cut off. I want to make wise decisions that are going to lead towards healthy progress. Ideally, right? Like that's where a lot of us are hoping to work through. And again, it's going from us feeling more about thinking about ourselves to being more aware of that we're a part of an environment, that we're a part of a collective. You know, that is verbiage that is more prevalent today because we are, again, going back to what I said previously, we are thinking much more globally, much more expansively. Again, not every single one of us. There are people out there that aren't. However, they're becoming less and less. You know, it's a lot of arenas are changing, growing, expanding. They're acknowledging, and I didn't get your archetype. They're acknowledging where perhaps things weren't good enough, where things weren't good at all, where we can just implement changes and expansion. All right, so then we have Toni Morrison, Power. Yeah, it's that what I was just saying. Like, we are coming home to ourselves. You can see the shape of the house. We're coming home to ourselves. We are letting go of the parts and pieces, the wounds that we don't want to go forward with. We're coming into our own power, our own sovereignty, our own divinity. We're all growing. Those of us who wish to put in that work, we're growing. But in a way that's in our heart space, not previously. A lot of the fear and need to be all about ourselves was a part of our consciousness, and we're slowly but surely letting go of that sense of me, competition, us versus them. And it's not necessarily going to be overnight, but at the same time, if we're not in it just for ourselves and we're thinking about the future, take away that need for haste. Acknowledge the steps that are being taken and keep going. And, you know, we're sowing the seeds of love, not sowing the seeds of hate. Also, you know, these blackbirds could be symbolic of our ancestors. It looks like there's bread, there's flowers, there's a knife. I think a lot of where we got into trouble previously, again, we were over compartmentalized. We thought for sake of advancement, we had to perhaps move away from religion or spirituality in favor of technology and science when they're not mutually exclusive. So now we find we're all, not all, but a lot of us are rekindling that side of ourselves in ways that previously might have felt taboo, or even that we wouldn't have acknowledged. You know, the fact that meditation is more of an everyday word to me is a huge advancement. You know, I don't like the term woo-woo. I feel like it's condescending and disparaging, unless you're referring to the woo dynasty of shamanic peoples, then I'll accept that. But typically when people say woo-woo, that's not what they're referring to. But the fact that it is starting to be talked about by everyday people and not shunned is amazing to me. So I have to get past my disdain for the joking manner in which it's said. The fact that we now talk about highly sensitive people, which to me is another word for empath, or could be, we're recognizing that some of the things that we perceived as different or shunnable should be celebrated. I don't think all disorders or psychosis can be explained away by unexpressed or unacknowledged abilities or gifts or what have you. But there are a lot of people out there that might have been shoved into a box that they don't really belong in. It's just they weren't understood. So we're coming back into that wholeness, and, there previously in cultures had been medicine people or healers or what have you, and that was commonplace. Like in the story of King Arthur and Merlin being this grand wizard, or powerful wizard, I should say. We have gotten to where we think there was only one. This one amazing wizard. No, Merlin was just another word for wizard, and there were tons of them. Tons! That was really exciting to learn. And Morgan Le Fay, one historical telling of her tale, was not this evil sorceress. No, she was a midwife and a healer, and the Isle of Avalon was where people went to convalesce. And then I read she was vilified because she didn't go along with what the Pope at the time had wanted. So that's how it changed its depiction. There are many different stories of how that goes, right? I'm not trying to take away your version of your story, but there's just many different ways of perceiving. So, the shaman. I knew I did this for a reason, saving it for last. And I'm saving this archetype for last and bringing it around in this dialogue. There have been people among us since the dawn of time who have tapped in to the unknown, the other side, the esoteric arts, in order to help the people around them that needed them. Now, I very much feel we all are capable and have this ability. It's just a matter of opening your mind up to the possibilities around you and allowing it to present in the way it works for you. When I went into studying Reiki, I had gotten Reiki before many times. It was always done silently. It was amazing, but it was silent and different placements of their hands around or on my body. So when I started performing it, at first, I did it silently, did it just the way I'd seen it done. And luckily, I had a teacher that pushed me out of my comfort zone, and she had me do it more in her style, which she's a druid, and her style is very bardic, which is perfect because then we went in to a period where I wasn't able to see people in person. So I had to start doing my energy work online, which is a lot for the human brain to conceptualize at first. Like, whoa, I can give you Reiki. Again, don't accept it if you don't want it. But if you do want, it is my intention to help you in your highest good in a way that delights your mind, body, and spirit, always, whether it comes out of my mouth or not. But here, it's really hard to do 2 screens, but have some positive, loving, supportive for wherever you are on your healing journey, a little pep in your step. Drink water after this, treat yourself gently like you would after a massage. But tell me you can't feel this. Those of you who are watching me live, you can send me some sort of, but let yourself, if you want it, let yourself receive. And if you can, ever so slightly even, feel this. It might feel like tingling a little bit or like a pleasant warmth. However, a sense of peace. Here, I'll give you some of my symbols. This is basically a symbol they gave me of the Sacred Heart. These aren't proper Reiki symbols. These are the symbols that they gave me when I started learning, because going back to where I was going with that is when I started practicing and I let myself be free, all of a sudden my own symbols started coming in. They gave me songs. They gave me a drum beat. And then it went from there to giving me a dance. And I was resistant. I was just like, still asking, how do you want me to show up as a shaman? Exactly how you are, dummy. But it's through singing, it's through dancing, it's through being creative, it's through listening, and just when it comes through and it feels right, I just do it. And I have to just fly blind and not be this overly planned out, anal retentive perfectionist that I can so be. No, it was just like, forget that. We are going to be free to flow however it wants to come out, knowing that I am fully in my heart space. And if it comes from love, that's what matters. So, each of us, I feel, in our own way, are evolving into our own method, modality, ways that shows up for us. For our own well-being, so that you can apply it to yourself. First, heal yourself, then that ripples out to heal the world. That movie, I guess, what is it called? Pay It Forward, or I don't know. It's just that concept that we have of that butterfly effect. And it's time. Our Piscean age is over. The Aquarian age is here. It's about reciprocal relationships. It's about learning how to self-soothe yourself so that then you can be a beneficial part of your ecosystem. you can see like all of these beautiful energies coming together, and this hand reaching forth to take hold of what maybe they previously had let go of. There's one concept, and I'll wrap it up to this, and then if anyone has anything that they'd like to ask me or what have you, we can do that for a moment before I get on with my day. There are people out there to help you learn and grow and flourish. We'll say that first. There's one concept that we came here incarnating as a soul in human form with a mission in mind that we'd like to accomplish, things that we'd like to learn. Then we port in, we hatch, so it seems, or whatever, we were born, and we've forgotten. Or perhaps for a little while we did know, but the environment kind of beat that out of us. Depends on how consciously you came in, I suppose. But then it's this quest to remember who you are, what you are, why you are, to embrace how you're designed, to acknowledge your skills, perhaps your weaknesses, and learn to best work with them. For me, along my way of that process, there were little clues along the way. Like for me, it was movies, like all the things movie-wise or art-wise that really drew me in and spoke to my heart were clues as to who and what I was. Then it's funny because later on in life, I realized, like, oh my goodness, I was trying subconsciously to tell my story to myself and what I was and who I was through my tattoos. Show both of you. This is my shadow working side. We have an owl, we have the Psycho Mansion, we have pumpkin. I'm holding rocks in my crotch. That's not very sightly or unsightly. Anyway, but this red swan ensnared in vines on a rough ocean in a storm, the red and the purple, the swan becomes grounded, and utilizing their intuition, they break free from the restriction on the physical plane after some serious healing. And it was rough. Then we have, it's hard to see, I know, cherry blossoms and a sun. So healing, coming into abundance, change, positive growth. Where'd he go? There he is. A raven, it's just from a Japanese woodblock print, which symbolizes change as well, intuition, ancestors. And then lotus blossom. It's hard to see. Pearl of wisdom, my inner warrior, my inner goddess, my inner enlightenment. And she has two swords. Because I work helping to cut or dissolve the cords. I had this in my mind the other day. Sword of knowledge, or the sword. I forget what the two swords were saying to me the other day. But they have two separate purposes. Because my higher self, sometimes in that dancing and movement, I have to wield the two swords to set it into balance and cut the things that need to be cut, or however you want to say it. But again, it's that balance. A lot of times we think we just need the one sword, and it's that two-part. One could say instinct and intuition, ego and higher consciousness, the yin and the yang. There's some times where I use my sword to help free you from what you need to be freed from, I suppose, one way to say it. Or the other sword is to help empower you. One way to look at it. But I very much think, feel, know each and every one of you, I'm getting tongue-tied, if you really spend some time reflecting on the things that really light you up, maybe the things that kind of make you nervous and scared, but not for a valid reason, lean into those things. Knowing yourself is half the battle. Then learning how to apply who and what and why you are to the world is the next part. And then I'm sure there's more parts, but let's start there. So let me say hello to the people I have not said hello to. Whoa, there's so many. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. I'm trying to say hello to everyone. Sorry if I miss. What is this? Some craziness. It's hard to do this, especially without glasses. But anyway, saying hi to all and each and every one of you on the Instagram, wherever I am. Hi. I don't know how to say hi to you all. Hello. I can't even see what these emojis are. I don't even know. Anyway, lean into yourselves. I can't even send you an emoji. I don't know. I can't say anything to people on YouTube without my glasses, because what if I say something terrible? I guess this is what the intuition is for. Listen to that. Huh. See? Growing, evolving. We're doing it together. Part of this is very much on purpose, because I don't mind making a fool of myself, because I love the Fool card. And if I can blunder, bumble, and not give a damn if I seem wild, nutty, you can come to me as you are and feel completely safe here in this space. That's what I'm here for. Raise the freak flag with glee, excitement, because I'm not a freak in a negative sense. Like, I have a fondness for the island of misfit toys, because those are my people. And I have felt recently that part of what I'm here is to be that safe haven, the island in the storm, for all those of you who may feel like misfit toys, to feel safe, to embrace yourselves, grow, thrive, and flourish together, building community in this way. I think it's from trying to all fit in together and be sheeple in the past, perhaps, that has caused a lot of dis-ease. So if you feel like your inner self needs to dress up this Halloween as embracing your inner selves and your beautiful magic, do it in a positive, loving way. Ooh, I like the way the antlers are cast in the shadows. Join me in embracing who you are, what you are, why you are, and how you are designed. And instead of hiding it day to day, let's be our true selves each and every day in a loving, supportive way for ourselves, for our future children or generations, whatever, and all of those who have come before us. Let's honor our ancestors. Let's all join hands together and heal the timelines. Let's get this party started. Go team, go! We're in it to win it. We're in it together. We're all one in this spider web of life. Anyone want to say anything? Questions before I sign off and put my glasses back on? Anyone? Now is your chance. Take a walk on the wild side, or else I will bid you adieu. Going once, going twice. Drink water. My card readings are an energetic service unto themselves, but then you get a little extra if you choose to accept it. So yeah, it's been fun. I look forward to seeing all of your costumes, should you decide to wear them this weekend. Sayonara. And I have to say sayonara on this side too. So many screens. I imagine in the future maybe I'll have like in the Batman version with Batgirl having become the Oracle, and she has all of her screens up. One day I will command so many screens.